This episode is going to contain pretty direct and upsetting conversations around child abuse and sexual assault in ways that I don't think the podcast typically covers.
No.
And so just flagging that if you want to skip it, this is the signal to skip it. Okay. Hey guys, weird news, and I know that it's weird to just see me, but Andrew actually, he called out sick today, and
Animal crackers in my soup.
Oh my God,
And rabbits loop-de-loop.
Miss Temple.
Hello, Joe. It's Shirley. You miss me?
I missed you, girl.
Well, girl, I actually have something for you.
Yeah, what is that in your hand?
And it's a Shirley Temple in a can because we've come a long, long way.
Wow, because I mean, I have a lot of questions for you.
I have so many questions for you as well, Joe, because I'm dead. So I do want to...
Should we try this first? Or?
I think we should try this first.
Okay.
And I'm going to go into the lore of Shirley as we go. And then I'll get to the Shirley Temple because I think you're going to be pretty shocked to learn about this drink. You're going to be pretty shocked. Let's take a sip of this.
That's bad. That's not good.
That's not the best thing I've had.
I'll drink the whole thing. It's good. Here's the thing. It's good. It's just not a Shirley Temple.
I'm going to start with the drink, actually. I think I'm going to start with the drink, and then I'm going to her life, because this is probably the most fun part that we're going to have all day. Because this episode is going to be pretty dark, you guys.
Can you turn that light towards you a little bit?
Yeah. And I also just want to preface, like, we are going to be laughing, like, we are going to be talking. A lot of the stuff that happened in Shirley Temple's life, like, isn't funny.
Right.
So I do just want to preface that. Like,
Right.
I thought by picking Shirley Temple, like, it was going to be, like, sweet and cute.
Did you sincerely think she had a good life?
I didn't know anything about her besides the drink and, like, she was a child star. And,
But
like,
just alone the fact that she was a child star in, like, what, the 50s?
oh, no, my God, in the
30s?
30s. In the 30s.
I love when you know something. This is going to be so much fun.
Because you know when I research something, I'm
going to know
studying
everything about it, yeah.
Because Shirley was born in 1928. So, can you imagine? She was born in 1928. So
Yeah.
contextualize that for a second.
Yeah, I will.
So she was born during the Roaring 20s, but then it had happened to be the Great Depression.
Damn.
Yeah. So
She got hit.
She got hit, and well, that's not even funny to make that.
No, I know.
assumption.
I'm sorry.
Well, I guess I'm not going to talk about the drink yet. I'm going to talk about Shirley first. So she was born in 1928
Okay.
to loving parents.
Was she? They
Yeah.
were loving?
Her parents were actually very loving, and they were very supportive, and they wanted to see her thrive, and they wanted to
Did she want to act?
So I think that's where it gets mixed up. She had a really great personality and, like, was so cute and bubbly. Exactly. She was very cute and bubbly, and she was immediately put up at 3 years old. At 3 years old. I'm just going to look down at my notes just to reference
Andrew,
the actual
you can
place.
look at those notes whenever you want.
So at 3 years
no
old,
rules.
she
There's no rules.
she was signed to Educational Pictures. And this is where it already gets dark. Yeah. This is where it gets actually pretty dark. Because she was starring in baby burlesques. So that's what that was her original.
What do you mean?
Exactly. So by baby burlesques, and this is where it gets really tough.
We're like a minute and a half in.
I know. I thought, like, maybe I can start sweet, but there's nothing really sweet about this.
Okay, so baby burlesques. I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah, please.
Is it like, is it like the babies are stripping, or is it like it's
No.
more like a comedic turn on
Yeah.
a burlesque show?
It's a comedic turn on a burlesque show. There are it's all kids. So Shirley a lot of the times would play, like, sometimes a prostitute, or it was suggested she was a prostitute. She would be in, like, this, like, tight-fitting dress with pearls, and
She's
like
3?
She's 3, and her whole role was to, like, seduce the other kid.
And you started this by saying she had loving parents.
So that is a problem I know as well, because a lot of the people turned their head to what was happening to Shirley because Shirley was becoming successful.
All right, and that's what
And-
happens. That's why
and-
child stars are so horrible.
What I didn't realize about Shirley
it's
Temple's
horrible.
career as well, before I even get into some of these notes, she was idolized. I thought she would have been idolized by, like, other kids. Her clientele was actually older men. And that's the problem. Shirley's fans were older men.
Let's take 1 second here. Okay. So what you're saying so far, because a lot of information has been given.
I'm going to regurgitate. I'm so sorry.
A lot of information has been given out just now.
Yeah.
Shirley Temple was 3 years old.
Yeah.
She was performing as a sex worker on stage in a baby burlesque. And I learned what a burlesque was this past week. I saw Gypsy on Broadway.
Yeah.
And that's all about burlesque.
And can you imagine that was a 3-year-old playing that role?
So what you're saying is, and this is to the best of your knowledge,
Yes.
that the baby burlesque was literally just a burlesque with babies.
Correct. It was a burlesque with babies. I saw some clips, and it was like Shirley's role. And when she was 4 years old, she did play the prostitute. And Shirley's role was to go in there and to seduce the other kid, kiss him on the lips. She was kissing him on the lips. She was like twirling her hair. She was like being told by these adults.
Who picked this theme? You or me?
I did. I think maybe I'll be Shirley Temple, I said. And I didn't think it was going to get dark. But I think that this is important for everybody to know when they order a Shirley Temple. I think they need to know that
You want people to remember this already.
For
and
sure.
I can't imagine it gets any better.
No, it gets actually so
I'm
significantly worse.
sorry. And I think that you said something else after the baby burlesques, right? What was the next fact?
So that she played, and Poor Little Rich Girl was one of her films. She didn't only act with other kids.
Did you mention the trading kisses for lollipops?
Oh, yeah, no, that was another big one of her things. She would trade kisses for lollipops.
What do you mean?
Like, in some of her movies, she would, like, her whole thing was, that was how they insinuated burlesque or, like, sex work or whatever. It's like she would kiss these boys, and they would give her lollipops in return.
Oh, I wish we were not doing that.
No, Joe, it's going to get so
And you
sick.
tried to tell me a few times this week.
I was like, this
It's
is
not
not
gonna
going
be
to
fun.
it's not going to look up for us and for our patrons. And this is how we're starting off. But the drink is fantastic. I will say she didn't only just act with kids. She also acted with adults. And these are the scenes, I think, sometimes that were the worst ones to watch because it was said that on and off screen, Shirley would tend to crawl onto laps. She was constantly crawling on older men's laps. And in the movies, she would do the same. There was one movie in particular that she was stroking the cheek. Okay. No. She was on his lap looking up at him lovingly. He's looking down at her, complimenting her. She's stroking his cheek. Very much like they were going to have an affair or something. So
I'm sorry, what time period is this?
She's about 4.
So she's like 1933. So we're in the Depression, which we're basically in that again right now, or we're about to be in one. You want to note. You have tunnel vision on that note. What's the next? What do you want to say?
No, I was going to say they're in a depression, but FDR. But FDR said, as long as we have Shirley Temple, we're going to be okay.
You're kidding.
I swear to God. Direct quote.
That is me at every communion party from 2002 to 2007.
Correct.
As long as we have Shirley Temple, we're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
We're going to be fine.
And
that is so much pressure to put on a child.
Yeah, her whole point was like to bring happiness and positivity to the world, to the country.
This breaks my heart. And you know, we talked about her very early on in the podcast.
Yeah, Joe. Well, it's gonna break your heart. I have a lot of things I'm gonna skip over as well because I don't think every
Well, you can
detail
come
needs
back
to be
to
mentioned.
it, of course. I just have to ask you another question here now.
Yeah.
So her audience is adult men.
Yes.
The characters she played often interacted with adult men.
Correct.
In ways that a child should not be.
No.
And she's on and off screen trading kisses for lollipops.
Yes.
Now I have a question.
Sitting on laps.
Who is she giving those kisses to for the lollipops?
So the trading the kisses for lollipops were for the other kids in the movies.
She doesn't know how to differentiate a movie from real life. She's a child.
She probably couldn't even differentiate at that point the kid from the adult because she's thinking, I'm kissing these kids in the lips. That's normal. People are telling me to do that. People are telling me to seduce this other kid
on camera, and I get paid for it, and my parents are happy.
And people are like laughing, and like she's coming off screen, and they're like, "Oh my God, that was so amazing, Shirley."
Oh my God! Don't ever ask us right now. I'm looking at you. Don't ever ask for a Judy Garland episode of this shit.
No,
ever.
No, and
this is already way.
And
too
I'm
much.
gonna get to Judy. The thing is, I'm gonna just go over this next part, and then we're gonna move on, I think, to her adult career and her drink. So the next part, Arthur Freed was a producer, and we don't need to say his name any more than once, because a lot of the things that were happening to Shirley along the way would be, and this is where it loses me, because why weren't her parents in the room? I guess because that's Hollywood.
Kids now.
I know.
Look at that Quiet on Set.
I know.
Same shit. These parents were like taken out of the rooms and they just didn't really intervene.
So Shirley was losing a lot of her deals at the beginning,
Why?
or especially with Arthur Freed, because Arthur Freed brought her into his office, took out his dick, showed it to her. She's like 5 or 6. She started laughing because she didn't know what that was, and he immediately kicked her out.
How do we know this? She told this story?
So all of this is loosely based on her autobiography, Child Star.
She wrote this?
She wrote
autobiography?
This.
Okay.
It was in 1980s. I think it was released like 1988.
Oh, I'll be reading this.
I need to be reading it as well. So moving on from that, that was one of the first. A lot of this stuff is going to jump out of order.
Sure.
Did you know that Shirley Temple was attempted to be murdered?
She was almost assassinated. Yes, I did know this. There was an assassination attempt at 11 years old. Mm-hmm. And wait. What was the reasoning? What happened?
Yep. This is crazy.
I just learned this last week, actually. It was just a fan, right? Who was obsessed with her?
It was a mother. No, it was
a mother whose child died.
And
she believed that Shirley Temple took her spirit, her soul.
Correct.
That shit is happening too much.
That
happens a little too much.
It's a little bit too much. And it was shocking that she thought that Shirley took her soul. I mean, obviously they caught it soon enough, so she wasn't going to get murdered.
But wasn't it like they caught it soon enough? It's she was in the crowd.
Yeah, she was in the crowd.
Was ready to kill her.
She was just ready to go crazy.
11 years old, this girl.
Yeah.
And so she started at 3. So what has this been? 8 years of her life only?
Yeah.
And we know what it feels like to be 11 and think about being 3. You don't remember it, but also it feels like you've lived so much life at that point. You can't believe you were ever 3 years old and you're only 11. Imagine the life that this girl had lived.
No.
And of course, God, Jesus.
It really gets so scary. And
you know anything about drug use?
I don't actually. None of the things that I watched talked about Shirley's drug use. I can only presume that she might have, but
I think
she kind of went away from the limelight for a while, so that might have been
post assassination.
It was
attempt.
Post assassination attempt. Well, because we're gonna get
okay.
There. So most of her admirers were middle-aged men because she was described to have, and these are not my words, a well-shaped, desirable body.
Whose words are those?
Those that I can only presume. This video essay that I watched was that all of the stuff that I've watched was based off of her autobiography.
Okay.
So she was also being told that she had a well-desired body, and these kids at the time, as well. It's like Timothy Chalamet lookalike contest. They were having Shirley Temple lookalike contests.
You're kidding.
I swear to God.
And that's what people have been saying, that the lookalike contests are a sign that we're about to enter depression because it's so Great Depression coded.
Yes.
So the lookalike contests were happening then.
For Shirley. Yeah. Because they were like, who is the next Shirley Temple?
The Luigi Mangione lookalike contest?
Exactly. I'm showing up to that.
That already happened. Happened 2 days ago before he was identified. I'm sure there'll be a new one now that he has a face. But that was it happened the same day in Washington Square Park as the Ethan Slater lookalike contest.
That's actually so crazy. I can't believe I missed that. Shirley got married.
You're saying I'm showing up to that one.
Shirley, okay, I'm sorry, but okay. Shirley got married at 15.
I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sorry.
Shirley got married at 15 to John Agger. He was a sergeant, and then he turned into an actor, and he was 17 years old.
Okay.
Obviously, he was an alcoholic. He cheated on her, and he was abusive. And
how old was he? 17?
17. She was 15.
Okay.
Which is like...
Listen, you know what? I mean, what is this? No, so she's 15 here, so this is 19 in the 30s?
Yeah.
No, almost 40s.
So she is 15. She's in the 40s already. This is 1943.
For the 1940s, for it to only be a 2-year age gap, that's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. And you know what? She caught on to that pretty quick. And she said, I'm going to leave this fucker. So she left that fucker. And this is where things started to take a turn, no longer sexually. I'm sure there were things that happened along the way. But things started taking a turn because the reason that Shirley Temple was so desirable is because she had youth to her. But now as she aged, people didn't really care as much about Shirley Temple. And that's very sad to hear.
No, I get it though.
And the kind of a nail in her coffin, Joe, to speak of her, she lost the role to Julie Garland. She was supposed to be Dorothy.
You're kidding.
Swear to God.
You're joking.
Shirley Temple was supposed to be Dorothy.
You're kidding.
They both were up for the role at the same time. It was very Let Me Be Your Star smash.
Oh my God, where's that movie? Where's that musical?
Yeah, where's that musical?
Can you imagine
No.
a Shirley Temple, Judy Garland drama musical where they're both competing for Dorothy? I mean, we all know how it ends, but still.
We all know how it ends, and trigger warning as well.
Oh my God.
Shirley said in her book that she was grateful that she didn't get the role because the abuse only continued to Judy.
Yeah.
And as we know.
Yeah.
And yes, we don't have to really get
I
into
can't
that,
imagine. I'm sure she'd be dead. I'm sure she would have. That would probably put her in the grave.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
This is.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What happened to the drink? Because that was when she was younger, wasn't it?
Oh, so the drink came to be. Yes. So I did skip past the drink. The drink happened on her 10th birthday. She was out to dinner for her 10th birthday. Her parents were drinking old fashioned. She was very upset. She was very.
She wasn't allowed to drink at that age.
She wasn't allowed to drink at that age,
shocked.
which is shocking.
She's able to do anything else she
what
wanted.
I heard, great family dynamic, and do with that what you will. So great family dynamic. She couldn't drink.
So wait, I'm sorry. Again, a lot of this you're getting is from, and we'll link the video essays. We'll cite our sources here.
Yeah.
A lot of this though is coming from her autobiography.
Yes.
So of course she said she had a wonderful family dynamic. Like that makes sense. She's not like telling on her parents.
The Shirley Temple drink one, I actually listened to a podcast.
Wow.
I know.
So give me every link for this episode.
I'll give you the links. It's a podcast about the history of LA.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of contention about where the drink was actually created, even though Shirley was there. So it's like, I don't know why that's even in contention. But she was 10 years old. Her parents were drinking old fashions. She was upset. So there was 2 bartenders behind the bar, and they were like, let's make her a drink. So the Shirley Temple is based off of an old fashioned.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense. What? And you might know this answer because you're kind of an aficionado of it. I was shocked.
What's in an old fashioned?
What's the flavor of grenadine?
Is it pomegranate?
Yeah. So the Shirley Temple is a pomegranate drink. And I always thought it was
Cherries.
I always thought it was a cherry-based drink, but it's a pomegranate-based drink with
pomegranate and cherry soda.
But the cherry only really comes from the maraschino that you're putting in there. So yeah, there was originally ginger ale, grenadine, and a cherry for Shirley Temple's 10th birthday. And that's how the drink came to be. She, again, going forward, she would have beat you the fuck up if she found out. I'm sure her family now is involved, but
no, I doubt it.
I
doubt she's remotely involved. In
no,
this
but because there were a few companies
lawsuits. How many fucking pages?
Let me get to these. So
the difference in how we're gonna do these book reports is insane to me.
Yep. So some people were saying it was Pig and Whistle in Honolulu. Most people think it was in West Hollywood. She said verbatim, it was a saccharine sweet icky drink.
Well, Rachel Weisz always talks about this. Our friend Rachel always is quoting Shirley Temple whenever like we do an ad or something, and she's always like, all I can ever think about is when they made in the Shirley Temple biopic.
Yep.
She tries to Shirley Temple on camera and she's like, I love it, and then she turns to her mom and she goes, too sweet. Too sweet.
Too sweet.
And I'm always saying too sweet.
And going forward, she has been on record saying that I don't support that drink. It's going to give you diabetes. So
I wish you could have met her. I wish would have been really.
I think we would have really been really close. And there was a few situations in which companies wanted to start selling the Shirley Temple. There was one specific company actually that called it the Shirley, and underneath it said the Shirley Temple drink. She had that out. She had it out for blood for them.
I'm sure she
said
did.
Absolutely
I would too.
not.
Surely
First of all,
would
I
have.
don't support that drink. Secondly, she needed to protect her integrity because as a celebrity, she needed to know that everything that was put out there with her name on it was quality. She endorsed that.
As
she didn't endorse that shit. So I can't even imagine. She would have taken a sip of the 7-Up and she would have punched them in the face. as she should.
Was she violent?
I don't think she was violent. I don't want to put those words in her mouth. She would have been very upset. She would have made a call, and because she was a boss and she knew what she wanted. So, oh God, I'm looking at the notes and it's getting sad. So I found out that later on, Shirley, when she was, let's say, later teens, almost 20s, she's no longer with this deadbeat. She's done with her career, basically. She made about $3 million in her career.
Oh, wow. And did you do the conversion to what that would be today?
No, Joe. But you want to hear this?
Yeah. I'm getting an iPad. I'm just telling everyone that.
You want to hear this? Dad drained the bank accounts of $44,000. So when she was able and old enough to take over her bank account, she had $44,000 left to her name.
And she gave up her whole childhood.
But supposedly, she was okay with that. She was like, you know what?
Oh, this victim.
She's a victim. No, she is. She was okay with that. She was like, I'm going to disappear.
That happens to a lot of people. Alison Stoner.
Yeah.
Alison Stoner worked her whole childhood, their whole childhood, and came of age and nothing in the bank account. Because these kids obviously aren't seeing these bank accounts when they're working. No. It happens to this day.
Yeah.
Because of how the industry is set up for child stars.
It's so sick. It's like I really cannot imagine working day in and day out as kids.
Giving up, trading your childhood for your parents' like financial security.
Trading your childhood, like losing everything. Literally everything to only have lost even more. So she was like, I'm going to disappear for a while because no one actually wants to hire me anymore because I'm like older and like I'm no longer this cute little kid. And it just goes to show like no one really, it's not that they didn't care about her talent. They did care about her talent, but like I'm sure she still was very talented when she was those older ages, but they didn't care anymore because it wasn't the Shirley Temple they knew.
So fucking, I mean, it's still insane. It was nuts.
It was nuts. And again, of course, it was different times back then. There were so many different movies that were, of course, offensive.
Oh, was
Shirley Temple was in blackface.
Yeah, of course.
There was a bunch of different shit.
So was Muscarella,
exactly.
Movie right before Wizard of Oz.
Of course. I mean, it was the 30s and the 40s. Like the country is fucked. Anyways, she married Alden Black, the love of her life, and she stayed with him for 55 years. This was like, yes. So she stayed with him for about 55 years. She met him in her 20s, and she was in love with him.
Alden Black and Shirley Temple. Almost just makes sense, those names
Alden
together.
Black, Shirley Temple Black is what she wanted to go by going forward forever, because I think it was also...
Well, is her name really Shirley Temple?
Her name was really Shirley Temple.
She was born Shirley Temple?
Yeah, Shirley Temple Black.
That's like Madonna being born Madonna. Did you know that? I thought her name was Margaret.
Her name was Madonna?
Madonna Ciccone.
That's kind of a gorgeous name.
I thought it was Midge.
Madonna Ciccone.
Welcome to the stage.
Madonna Ciccone. So this is where things pick up for Shirley.
Okay.
She moves to DC.
How could things possibly pick up?
Well, I mean, like pick up for her later.
Diplomacy? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'm just prefacing everybody to everyone now.
God, what is the diplomacy?
She's a Republican. Okay? She was a Republican. Okay? So I don't know what you want to do with that information, but she was a Republican. So now I'm going to get into her career.
Well, what time is this?
This is like, she's a Republican in like the 60s.
Okay.
Right? So
she dealt with McCarthyism. I'd love to see her take on that. Continue.
I would also love to see her take on that. So she was actually a very, very prominent Republican fundraiser, but at the same exact time, she had the Shirley Temple Show. The Shirley Temple Show was later on in her life and only lasted 3 years before she was like, I actually want to put showbiz behind me and I want to start continuing to focus on my Republican fundraising.
Did she have a large gay fan base?
I mean, I can only assume she did, Joe, but
were the older men faggots?
I don't think the older men were faggots, and I don't think they necessarily were raising their hand if they were.
Well, of course not.
Very
I'm
different.
wondering because that was whatever. Continue.
I'm sure they were though. I'm sure if I was to look into other sources, they would be pretty much gay.
PMG.
She was the president of the MS Society.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The president of the MS Society, and that lasted for.
Did she have MS?
Quite some time. She didn't, but her brother did.
Oh wow.
Yes, her brother had MS, so she was like, "I'm going to be president of the MS Society."
Feels like someone else should have had that role. It's not like that's really a sickness that you can't become president of the society for.
Yeah. Well.
Why did she take the lead?
And there's going to be another society down the road that did affect her. Okay, so I'm just going to let you know that now. But this is a pretty interesting fact.
Okay.
Shirley Temple was in Vienna for the meeting of the MS Societies.
Okay.
She was supposed to have a meeting with one of the top, and this is where it's going to be blurred for me. He either was the president of the Czech Republic or like some main person in the Czech Republic. Mr. Dubek.
Carrie
Dubek. But Vienna was...
The amount of notes that Andrew has is deplorable.
This is what happens. The amount of notes are in my notebook because I took a fucking edible and I was zoned in. But she never got to meet Mr.
We
Dubek.
love bits.
We love bits. I actually really do love
love
it.
bits.
She never got to meet
Why?
Mr. Dubek.
Why?
Vienna was invaded and he was killed.
Was she there?
She was there when Vienna got invaded. She was there for so much, so you're going to freak out. She was there for so much. She was there for when Vienna got invaded. And you thought that was the only invasion that she was there for. She was there for other invasions.
She was at Pearl Harbor?
No, you're going to be shocked to hear the next invasion she was in. Oh my God, it's like,
this is not funny.
It's not funny. So, to take it away from that, before this even happened, she ran for Congress in California.
Very Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes. At this time, there was about 30...
Senator? Was he a senator or a congressman? I feel like you would know
That man was the governor. Anyways. There was like about 33 members, give or take, in the Congress at this point. All men. She stood on a platform saying...
Oh, wait. Good for her.
Good for her. She was going to be the first woman in Congress, is what she wanted to be.
Oh, my God.
And she kept saying, I mean, it's not that hard to think it could be 33 men and one woman. Like
right.
that's like let's pick it up, boys. So she lost to obviously a man, but she tried. And that didn't stop her from what's to come.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm like, well, we're only 27 minutes in. This is really an educational stand. Like,
yeah, well, I didn't expect you to come. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't expecting you to come in.
Yeah.
And
you thought it was going to be
take
fun.
a breath and just tell us everything you possibly learned. And I'm really surprised because I am going to walk away from this with a huge education.
Are you enjoying yourself?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm learning a lot.
And tell me and stop me when you're not.
No, I would never stop you if I wasn't, but I am. I'm learning a lot. My interpretation of what we're doing with this Patreon is going to be different. My Salem Witch Trial episode is going to be different than this, but listen, week by week you get something a little bit different.
When I have to study a topic, I'm going to give you every single bit of information.
That explains us in school.
And stop me, and you have, and stop me and ask questions.
I have to because it's happening so fast.
It is happening so fast.
Espresso is hitting you.
Yeah, the espresso hit me. But that didn't stop Shirley.
I'm looking at the notes.
Because Shirley got appointed by Richard Nixon as an ambassador in Ghana.
What the fuck did Shirley Temple know about Ghana?
And that's what the people of Ghana said as well.
I'm sure they did.
They were saying this is a huge insult to the people of Ghana.
I'm sure
that Shirley Temple is going to be the ambassador to the United States in Ghana.
Oh, I wouldn't want to meet her. No offense now. I know that she went through a horrible life. I know I wouldn't like this one.
Yeah. No. She definitely was criticized by the Ghanaian people. But a few years into this, because she was in Ghana for a little bit, the Ghana Times quoted, "She was proven to be capable and work for others." So she had the skill of relating to people. Supposedly, she was very well liked and very well respected in the ambassador role.
Well, I'm glad.
And an incredible diplomat to the United States.
I could see Miley Cyrus becoming diplomat to Ghana.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think,
and I do believe that the people of
Demi Lovato
would eat it up. She would eat it up. Because, I feel like she would be able to take her shows. She'd be able to look at some ghosts, talk to some ghosts while she's there, connect with because if I feel like I know anything about Demi Lovato, she's a relater.
Yeah, well, she could relate to the alien, she could relate to the ghost, she could relate to the Ghanaian,
and she can relate to some really, really depressed people.
Yes, like Shirley Temple.
Like herself. Shirley Temple. And you know what? she did rise from the ground like a skyscraper.
Shirley Temple?
She did.
She did.
She absolutely did. She wasn't only just an ambassador to Ghana. She ended the role with Ghana under Nixon.
Was this when he got impeached?
Well, he got impeached, and then I'm pretty sure that a Democrat took office.
Yeah, I think.
Right?
Fuck, it's so embarrassing. Like, I'm gonna start my goal for this is to end like next year, like end 2025 with a pretty solid American history education. You know what I mean? I would like to know some shit better than I do.
It's embarrassing, quite frankly.
It is.
It's embarrassing.
And that's why history is doomed to repeat itself because none of us know it.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, like, right now,
this is so important.
This is so important.
Andrew dressed as Shirley Temple telling us about Ghana is so important.
It's really important.
For the future.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you.
It's actually, if I could leave any mark on this earth and on this podcast, it's by just like giving a smidgen of education to the listeners.
Yeah.
She wasn't just the advocate or the ambassador for Ghana.
Diplomat,
right?
To where? To what? To whom?
So now, welcome to the stage, George H.W. Bush.
Oh my God! Oh, so she took a break because after Nixon it was a Democrat, so they didn't have her involved.
Welcome to the stage, George H.W. Bush.
She was kicking in, what is that, the 80s almost?
Yes. She was kicking, Joe. She died in 2014, girl.
Shirley Temple died 10 years ago.
Yes, this is almost the 10-year anniversary. She died in February 10th, 2014.
So she died almost 11 years ago. Now, that's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
We were in high school.
Mm-hmm. She died at 86.
Shirley Temple lived to see the Bangers era. Shirley Temple was alive when Bangers came out. Shirley Temple saw the Wrecking Ball music video. I want you to think about that. Shirley Temple saw I Will Wait by Mumford & Sons.
Shirley Temple also, like, and I know that's even earlier, she went through the whole lore of Britney Spears, Pussycat Dolls. She saw all of these women win. And she
saw Britney rise and fall. Yeah. Oh my God.
She saw Britney shave her head.
Oh my God. Why wasn't she doing that kind of work?
Yeah.
Why was she doing Republican diplomacy when she could have been helping these kids? I can't judge. I can't judge.
I also think
I can't judge. I wish I could.
And I'm pretty sure she probably was a Republican until the day she died.
I'm sure she was thrilled in 2008 when Obama won. I'm sure she was very happy about that. I'm sure she had great things to say.
Oh, fuck. I didn't even go into that. I didn't even look at that. So
this is why we need an iPad.
That would be really crazy to know. No, Joe, she was the ambassador to Czechoslovakia. And if you can imagine where I'm going with this, she was the yes, exactly. She was the ambassador. Let me say this again. She was the ambassador to Czechoslovakia. So, if anyone knows a little bit about history, it's that Czechoslovakia became the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Mm-hmm. That happened when Shirley Temple was there. There was an invasion. Shit was going down.
What the fuck is this woman's life is the worst narrative I've ever heard for anyone ever.
Yeah. So everything went down when Shirley was in office. And it was around 1992 that she ended her career because it shifted due to economic matters.
What do you mean?
I think it was because she was an ambassador to the Czechoslovakia, but then also, you need to think at this time.
92, Clinton?
Okay. Clinton came into office and she probably was like, I can't deal with this shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wait, that's interesting that she went for George H.W. I don't know what she did under Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
Because it seemed to be like a little miss Ronald Reagan era. I'm sure she was.
Oh,
her and Nancy.
Was trickling down.
Holy fuck. Her and Nancy were like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to Google that before we wrap up, like Shirley Temple gay advocacy, because she has to have one redeeming quality. Like, she couldn't have gone through all this horrible shit and not done something good.
Yeah. And I think that and a lot of the things that I was hearing is that she was an advocate for change. But what type of change?
Yeah. What does that mean to be an advocate for change?
It's just
I'm
like-
sorry. That's the most vague thing you could possibly say. I'm an advocate for change.
Like climate change? Probably
Right.
not.
She was an advocate to change the climate. She was hoping that climate
She's
would
like,
change.
let's make it fucking hot as hell in here. So that was Shirley, and
That's not everything?
no.
Okay.
So I hate to. I'm jumping all over with timelines, but let me think how old she was at this point. 2. Okay.
2?
No. She was about 44, Shirley, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay, I saw this in your notes. Yeah.
So that's when she stepped in, and she was a large advocate for breast cancer. And you know what? She used her platform to talk to other women and tell them it's important to
get
do
tested.
self-checks.
Yes.
And to feel yourself to make sure that you're fine.
Yeah.
There was some studies that like you shouldn't really be doing that. Like, I mean, like you should be doing that, but like it's not going to tell you everything. Obviously, you have to go to the doctor. But she was at least talking about it, and she was advocating for women to do that for themselves.
Oh, that shit freaks me out.
Yeah.
Same as like checking your balls. It's just like, I don't want to find out. I don't have to.
I don't want to find out
it's
either.
Like, it's like worst case scenario.
I don't want to find out either. And I don't necessarily want to end on talking about Shirley Temple's breast cancer.
Yeah.
But it's basically, that's where my notes end.
Okay.
But I think that what I've taken from Shirley Temple's illustrious career.
And we have some time left.
We still have some time, so we can
discuss.
debrief. We're going to debrief for a bit. And I'll be able to fact check and things.
And you can almost
I didn't write
relax.
everything
Maybe
down.
you could relax now for a second.
I didn't write everything down. This is a problem because what happened was I did do the double shot of espresso before I started speaking here tonight.
Yeah, and I think it showed.
And it showed. And some could say it's mania, some could say it was like I'm
No, it
really
was
educated.
passion.
It was passionate.
It was passion.
What I learned about Shirley Temple was dark, it was devastating, it was horrific, and it was quite frankly saddening. I was also quite impressed, though, regardless of her political affiliation, of how she was able to pivot her career from child star who has dealt with so much trauma to being able to relocate and be an ambassador to the U.S. government. And actually, which is really interesting, when she was in Czechoslovakia, Joe, a lot of the people, a lot of the high ups, because it was still a communist country at the point, one of the communist leaders, huge fan of Shirley Temple. They called her, it was something close to Sri Lanka or something. But they were calling her something. That's what they called Shirley Temple. But she had a lot of fans in Czechoslovakia.
Really?
And it took her a long way.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. So she had that underneath her to be able to like to explain the lore of her.
Right.
She was a prominent figure. So that is Miss Shirley Temple.
So, okay. My first thing, and I want to bring us all the way back to the beginning, and I need to bring it up again.
Please.
And I understand what compels a parent to do this, and it's financials, but how can you look at your 3-year-old and say, congratulations, Shirley, you booked the baby burlesque. You booked it, and we're going to take you there, and you're going to kiss kids on stage in exchange for lollipops and crawl into men's laps. How? I don't care how much money you're making. Like,
No.
How do you sleep at night?
How do you sleep at night? How do you also your daughter is and you're watching these things.
Yes.
Too. So it's like, again, I can't even put myself into the shoes of the parents or the adults in the room because clearly it was so normal.
Yeah.
That I don't even think they probably were like, oh, she's so cute. She doesn't know.
You guys, so much of history has changed in the past 100 years. Like, it's actually crazy. It's actually crazy. Like, that was how many years ago? Not even 100 years ago.
Not even
90 years ago.
Yeah.
90 years ago, baby burlesques were happening in a normal way in this country. And I mean, there's much worse things that were happening less than 90 years ago. You know what I mean? Segregation was less than 100 years ago. Like, and that's why these bitches want to take America back. That's so crazy.
It's so crazy. Like, you need to really wake up.
Yeah.
You gotta wake up.
Gotta wake up.
But there has been so much change, and I think that but you can also see there was so much change, but there also some things
never change. Some things never change. Look at Quiet on Set. I mean, Shirley Temple lived a very But you know what is even worse to think about is the abuse that Shirley faced was more out in the open. I mean, again, a baby burlesque is one of the craziest sentences I've ever heard, words I've ever heard. This shit's still happening. It's just like now these executives and these men know to keep it behind a closed door.
Correct.
And know how to manipulate a child into never repeating it. Yes. And like, these parents are still like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go.
And like, go to work.
There were 8. It makes me sick. There was another moment for her career that she was in another room with another producer. He actually locked the door. He didn't do anything to her, but he locked the door and chased her around the entire room.
What do you mean?
He chased her around like cat and mouse, it was explained. She was going to run out the door, and he had this thing that
the button?
that locks the door.
So, Matt Lauer had that.
Yeah. He locked that door. He chased her around, but she said she had a petite little dancer body.
Andrew.
No, she was agile, and this was a fat sack of shit that he couldn't keep up with.
What are you
saying? So he eventually opened the door for her. She got away from him.
Andrew, you're using the term fat sack of shit about somebody? Like,
I mean, he's a pretty horrible I'm sorry, I shouldn't use those words regardless. He's a pretty horrible person.
Yeah, there's other things. Yeah, he's clearly a child predator.
She said he was a very large, out of shape man.
Okay. Spirit of Shirley calling you.
Yeah. So that happened. Okay. But yeah, child stardom is not what it's all cracked up to be. And I think that Shirley Temple was an example of that. We can at least be brought together by her songs. She had a very cute voice. But now knowing the animal crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits loop the loop.
Remember the commercial?
There was. I think it was that, and I think it was another song in the commercial.
For sure, it was like bring the magic of Shirley Temple home with you.
Yes,
and it was like advertised to like kids on Nickelodeon. I'm like, we don't know who Shirley Temple is.
No, but I mean, like, I absolutely always knew Shirley.
Yeah, but like I knew her as like she was like a famous kid from like before my parents were alive.
Yeah,
but like, why was it being advertised on like Nickelodeon to buy the Shirley Temple box set?
That is really interesting. And it's so interesting too that like. Her life will always live on because of the drink.
I know.
I wonder if, I mean, when it was happening, she was like upset about it. But like, I feel like she has a legacy.
That's a real fucking legacy to leave.
I do think that, I know there was an autobiography, and I know that there was, you said a biopic?
Yeah.
I do believe, to your point, there needs to be the Judy Shirley movie. It's gonna be unfathomably heart-wrenching,
yeah,
and sickening. But I think if they find a silver lining, they'll be able to write it.
I'm really amazed, and I will say to Shirley's not credit, because I don't want to give her credit for surviving, but like. To my surprise, Shirley still managed to make it out pretty okay in a way that unfortunately a lot of kids do not in this industry.
And I didn't see or read or hear, but who's to say that she was really deep, dark in alcohol or deep, dark in drugs? Like, it seems like she was able to get...
Is she kind of... Well, no.
What?
She has a not dissimilar vibe to Drew Barrymore. Because Drew had a pretty horrendous childhood, and she really obviously has turned her life around in a beautiful way, and it's like I'm so glad that she is okay.
Yeah.
But like Drew was smoking cigs at 5 years old and drinking at 9 years old, like, and at the Rainbow Room.
Yeah.
Like, and there was clearly no parental intervention to help her or care because she was making money.
Yeah.
And it was but she ended up getting involved in pretty serious drugs, I think, and by like her late teens, 20s, had to change things. But she started at the same age as Shirley Temple for sure. She was a baby. How do you look at your baby and say go to work?
Go to work.
How do you look at that baby? Poor Mary Kate and Ashley.
Oh my God.
I was just looking at a clip of them from Full House. And you know what? People are fucking weird. People are fucking weird.
What were they saying?
It's just I was watching just like an interview with them, and I was like, why are you why are you interviewing a baby? Why are we interviewing a baby? Like, let that baby go home. It's weird.
It's really, really strange. It's like we can do without the children actors and the children models and the children anything. Like you can figure it out.
And it's like but listen, like sure,
if they want to act.
If they want to act, that's amazing. I really like what it's not out anytime soon, but I appreciated the way that Ben Platt told us how his parents approached acting, but to his point, he said his parents had the knowledge of the industry and understood what was happening and were able to make decisions around that. Also, they had the money to not need to rely on Ben's acting to get them through their lives, and all of those things help. But it's like, sure, we need a kid to play Harry Potter, right? But it's like, does that kid need to become a star?
No.
Like, does it need to be a star, or can it be a kid who acts in something? Like, we have to really, really reassess what celebrity is and how we treat these kids and how we treat people in general, obviously. But it's like, it feels like times are changing, you know, like it does feel, I think even the lookalike contests are almost a reminder that person's not that special.
No.
It's like there's actually 40 of them in every city, and you could find them in every single city. And what makes that person different is like they got lucky and they can act and they put themselves out there. But it's like we have to stop. I don't know, like we have to stop caring. We have to stop caring about these kids. Like let them act. Let their parents be may their parents be in every single room that they are in.
Yes.
You know, like God
Forever.
willing, never let that kid be alone, and let them go back to school and let them be normal and don't care and don't ask for a picture with them and don't think that they're a celebrity. I mean, that's a 14-year-old.
It's,
you know what I mean? Like
it's really scary.
it's crazy.
Really
and then or worst case, they end up a Republican diplomat. Like that's
in
crazy.
Ghana.
I mean, that's the crazy thing is that's best case scenario. This is best case scenario in that situation. Like that's wild.
And I really can't imagine going through everything that she went through and like having to succumb to like legitimately men of the industry and then having to go into another male dominated industry.
Well, that was just being a woman. It's still being a woman.
I know. And I mean, again, good for her for running for Congress.
Yeah,
like,
good for her for running for
Like,
Congress.
regardless of party affiliation there, like at least she tried. And I will say one interesting fact, not about her. In Canada, they put orange juice in their Shirley Temple. Very interesting to me. Very interesting to me. Very interesting to me.
It's almost like a tequila sunrise.
That's what I'm saying.
I feel like I had times in my life where I would get some orange juice and drop some grenadine in it.
Yeah. And the fucking worst was when it was some fucking cranberry juice. Have you ever had?
No.
Oh shit! They would put Sprite or ginger ale with cranberry juice.
Love that. I wouldn't consider that a Shirley.
No, I would have a cranberry ginger ale,
which is amazing.
One
and
of
delicious.
my favorites from Canada Dry.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. No, they were calling that.
Who were they?
I've been to multiple parties in my life where I was served a Shirley Temple and it was tasting like cranberry juice.
That's horrible.
Very, very disheartening. Very upsetting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you went through that.
It's okay.
As a kid.
I actually never had a Roy Roger.
And who the fuck is that?
The Roy Rogers.
Is it a Dr. Pepper or something?
No. It's the same thing as a Shirley Temple. Instead of ginger ale, it's Coke.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Coke.
Let's get Roy on the phone. What's Roy Rogers' backstory?
I don't know. Do you want me to show up as Roy? I don't know. I know he has he had a fucking chokehold on rest stops around the country.
Roy Rogers.
Yeah, Roy Rogers.
You might have to do some.
And my parents were always like, "I love a Roy Rogers."
You might have to do some research on Roy.
I'm just gonna do something really quick, and I just like want to look up Roy really quick, and then I'm going to go from there. All right,
Faggot.
got it.
Okay.
Roy Rogers is almost coming up.
Well, you guys, What an enlightening, important, educational episode. Andrew, thank you so much for the work you did today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm really proud of you. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
You maintained a respectful, ethical, sincere approach to a very complicated life.
Thank you.
And you told it with grace.
And I appreciate that. And again, you guys, this is a learning curve. So, like, I did come out really hot with a lot of information on Shirley Temple, but I think there was so much to learn about such a long life that I just felt really excited to share. So,
and you really shared it excellently.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you still listen. You can still order a Shirley Temple.
In fact, I'll be ordering one this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend I'll be getting a few.
Yeah.
I'll be getting a few. And if you're trying to be legit nostalgic, it's always ginger ale over Sprite. So, like, whether that's your own personal interpretation of Shirley, the one Shirley was drinking was with ginger ale. So, do with that what you will. On that
As always, go with love and go with light.
Yeah, and go with God.
Animal crackers in my soup. That was crazy.
That was wild.